welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, January 15th, 2020. I am Yvette Bowens with the details. Deputy Prime Minister Sir Louis Straker said it is his hope that more Vincentians can benefit from the seasonal farm workers program hosted by the Canadian government. His comments came at a book launching ceremony held on Monday evening at the Prime Minister's residence, hosted by the Canadian High Commission in collaboration with the government of SVG. Sir Louis said Vincentians make up a majority of those who are able to take part in the program and took the opportunity to thank the Canadian government for the initiative.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a tremendous, preponderant number of Vincentians working in Canada. We have more than the other OECS countries, and we get the lion's share of the money that is coming to these people who go there and work. If you live in the countryside particularly, you would see that people who go there periodically come back. Some build new homes, some add on to their homes, some are able to have their children educated. So it is a tremendous opportunity for our people. Our only wish is that we could have more going not only on the program there, but in the Western Canada and the various parts of Canada, so that we can have more of our people on a livelihood in Canada.
Also speaking on the Farm Workers Program was the Canadian High Commissioner to the OECS and Barbados, Mary Ligo, who said the program is of tremendous benefit to Canada and the participating countries, including SVG, and he will do his part to get more persons involved.
Program called the Seasonal Workers Agriculture Program, and which is a program where people from the Caribbean come to Canada to work for sometimes, it can be 3 months to 9 months, to work on seasonal agriculture program, in farms and so on. And I have to say that I've met a lot of workers, of people who come to Canada to work, and they return year after year after year. Some of them have come and have come for 20 years. And last year there were 300 of them, which is quite a lot, and it's very good. And these citizens from St. Vincent actually become ambassadors of St. Vincent to Canada, and then when they return, they become ambassadors of Canada to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because they really create a link and a bridge between our two countries, because they live there, they love it, and they return here, so they still have, they're very ingrained in both countries. So I think this is also a very good example of our relationship and people-to-people ties.
International delegates will come together here from Friday this week for a United Nations security retreat to be hosted by the governments of SVG and Kuwait. The 3-day retreat will focus on the operations of the UN Security Council. A welcome reception will be held for the delegates attending the retreat on Friday from 7:30 p.m. at the Prime Minister's residence. SVG took up its seat as a non-permanent member of the Security Council on January 1st, having been elected in June last year as the smallest country to ever serve on the Council. SVG was one of 5 new members elected to the Council last year. The other 4 countries are Estonia, Niger, Tunisia and Vietnam. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves maintains that a city at Annisvale will become a reality. He outlined some of the plans for the new city at the ULP's convention at Camden Park on Sunday. The Prime Minister said part of the plan is to have a tunnel that will go through Cane Garden to facilitate easy access to the new city, connecting Kingstown to Annisvale.
There is study in relation to a tunnel under Cane Garden Point. Look, as I tell everybody, in building out a city and in reconfiguring the city in Kingstown, it ain't 5 years or 10 years, you know. This is a project to be built out over a longer period of time, but you will see it as it is building out. And at Annisvale, we only have one chance to get it right, so that when we come off of Casson Hill, we mustn't see a dump, a slum down there. We must see a top-of-the-line tongue connected to the rest of Kingston, evolving in its majesty and beauty.
He said draft designs have already been prepared, however, the studies will take some time to be completed.
We are working with the business community where we are going to build something by the old terminal building in the meanwhile as the city builds out, to have a commercial sector there, which will have to be reconfigured when the entire layout is done, because we have to do a lot of work for drainage by the river. And one of the reasons why we have to do a lot of work there, not only because of the project, the hospital we're building, the best piece of land they bought near to town for a lovely gated community of top-class houses is up at Fenton. And when the water come off of Fenton, the water will go down inside of the Warrawarra River. And it will be large volumes, so you have to strengthen that properly.
The opposition New Democratic Party will continue to pursue the elections petitions even as the country gets ready for another election. The election petitions were dismissed by Justice Stanley John in March last year after the court found there was no evidence to support the major issues in the cases put forward by the petitioners. Leader of the NDP, Dr. Godwin Friday, says pursuing the matter to the very end is the right thing to do, as Vincentians deserve clarity on the last general elections.
We believe that the evidence is there. We believe that the judgment that was made, I mean, we accept that Justice John made his decision. That's his decision, but we don't accept that his reasoning was sound and that the evidence was properly accounted for, and those things will be brought to the attention of the Court of Appeal. And it's important to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to know what happened in the election of 2015, finally and conclusively. That has not been done. You know, had the petitions, when the trial was done, it revealed a lot of things that many people in the country were shocked. You know, many people who used to say that and the people wasting the time, when they listened to the accounts from the trial, the petitions, they changed their mind. They said, no, something is rotten here, and we need to get to the bottom of it, because you can't go into an election without knowing what happened.
Dr. Friday said even though no date has yet been set for a hearing in the Court of Appeal, their team will be ready for when the time comes.
Well, as you know, the election petitions, the appeal has been filed. They had crossed appeal at some point. The court said no, that you're out of time, so they struck that out. So the only thing that's on the record that's going forward now is the appeal of the petitioners, Exeter and Batiste in in Central Leeward and North Windward, respectively. And the legal team, they are readying themselves to prosecute the appeal, to argue the appeal as soon as possible. We don't yet have a date. We know when the court comes here from time, various times. I think the next time it gets it's in February. But we are confident about the appeal, and we continue to urge that the matter be dealt with as quickly as possible.
Dr. Friday also noted with concern the timeliness of dealing with elections petitions in the Caribbean, which he said has to improve, noting that they have been at it for more than 4 years.
We are confident about the appeal, and we continue to urge that the matter be dealt with as quickly as possible, because 4 years, it's ridiculous to have this matter still going on and the legitimacy of the government being seriously questioned, and after 4 years the court can't have the matter determined. That's unacceptable. That's something we need to look at, not just in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but as a region in the OECS, to make sure that election matters are dealt with expeditiously, as the Court of Appeal had said at one time.
The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment is examining ways to use technology to improve its record keeping. To this end, the Medical Records Department in the Ministry of Health in December last year concluded a 3-month-long digitization project. The project consists of 3 phases, which saw persons being trained to collect, sort, sift, and scan medical records, then upload to the SVG Health Information System. Systems Administrator with the Ministry of Health, Aspit Bala, said records at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital have been digitized, and it is hoped that other institutions can benefit from the digitization process.
Where we would match each record that is digitized to the name appearing in the system itself. So what is on the record you would find on the computerized version of on the health information system.
What does this mean for us?
Well, we have to think of this in the long term, as in this is just one part. This is just medical records at the MCMH hospital, where we could scan around 30,000 files within the 2 months or so that was given to us, right? With the intentions of branching out to the other hospitals and then possible clinics in the future. With all of this digitization, then we have an electronic replication of each note of patient record that we can manipulate and share easily using the SVG-HIS with the doctors, nurses, well, most important, the end users of the system.
Bala said for now physical records will still be used, but eventually will be phased out.
So all this information now would be on the computer, so there would not be any physical record for patients?
Not necessarily. What it would, it's let's say it's in steps. So first we digitize the actual record, right? But because the hospital would still be using this actual record, it's an active file. So yes, although we digitizing it, once it goes back to the medical records, they might have notes coming back and forth that would be entered into this particular record. In the future, hopefully, we intend to phase out the record, having the physical record, and just use the SVG-HIS, the Simmons and Granny's Health Information System, solely. Because also we know that you can't just discard of records just like that. It's in a period of between 7 to 10 years in which you can discard of records.
The confidentiality of patient records and the ability of staff to handle the digitization process were 2 areas of concern. However, Bala noted that persons were properly trained to conduct their duties and explained the provisions in place to ensure confidentiality.
And 2 scanners before, so we now train them, each individuals, which we have about 12 working with us, including, no, not included, but also alongside a project manager, where we train them on the scanners, make sure that they were competent enough, and then when the project started to roll out, then we make it easier for them to get into the groove of getting scanning done.
Persons may be worried about confidentiality in terms of person's record being scanned and uploaded to a system. What assurance can you give persons, or can you speak to confidentiality in this regard? Okay,
for confidentiality, before each individual actually starts scanning the record, we actually have them sign the confidentiality piece of documentation which was created by the ministry. It's the same documentation that we have the regular clinicians who interact with the system sign upon being trained and then given password and username for the system.
Several of the persons who were trained under the project highlighted some of the challenges they faced moving from papers to a digital system.
Like a bit challenging, but not to say that bad. But as the days goes by, you know, it's smooth.
Okay, what's the best part of this process for you?
Well, the best part is coming to work every day and do your work.
And what's the most challenging part?
Oh, the most challenging part is the big files that we have to do with like 300 pages or so. Right.
Really?
Yeah, but it's...
The training that you got, you think it equipped you to manage the work that you're doing?
Yes, yes.
It's a bit tedious when you have the big files. It takes a lot more time. And, yeah, but basically it's a good job, you know.
Did you learn a lot in the training? Did you learn anything?
Well, I learned anything better for sure, because I see a lot of people have some problems with the health. So it just get me a little wiser now with my health and stuff.
Like the various times where the software would crash and we would have to start over because we lost our progress. But yeah, that was the most challenging thing. Occasionally when the software would crash.
Have you learned anything new in this process?
Well, there's a lot of files and a lot of people in the hospital. And this is very important because it's not an easy thing to be digging through all of these files to find the thing that you need. It would be a lot easier to just go to the computer and search up for them.
A workshop to finalize the country work program for SVG for 2020 to 2024 will be hosted tomorrow. The workshop will be hosted by the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, with the support of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDIMA, and the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. The objective of the workshop is to finalize programs and the plan of action to implement the national and regional priorities of the Comprehensive Disaster Management Strategy, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and to ensure that the Sustainable Development Goals and the National Economic and Social Development Plan of St. Vincent and the Grenadines 2013 to 2025 are incorporated into the country work program. NEMO says the country work program has been developed based on the gaps identified following consultations held over the last year. Tomorrow's workshop will take place at NEMO's conference room commencing at 8:30 a.m.